Good morning. Welcome to the Church360 Unite Users, Groups, and Communications webinar. My name is Jordan Bogart. I am a software support technician here with Concordia Technology Solutions. I've been here for just over 11 years here now, and so I've really appreciated the opportunity to serve our churches and just be able to help spread the gospel in that way. You can see my contact information there. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to me there. I do want to note that all phones and microphones have been muted for today's session, so if you have any questions along the way, you should have a questions window in the webinar service that we're using, so you can put any questions you have there, and we'll do our best to get that answered. And joining me today to help answer those questions is going to be my manager, Rod Kiles. As you can see him here, he's been here for over 20 years now, so he's been here a while, and again, very knowledgeable, and he'll be able to answer any questions you have as well. If you would like to reach out to Rod, you can see his contact information there also. All right, well, let's go ahead and just talk about kind of what we're going to be doing here today. Just first off, a quick overview of the class, just its structure. So we're going over our class agenda here right now. We're going to hop into discussion on the different topics we'll be covering today, which I'll talk about in just a second. There will be a quiz. No pressure on you guys. This is more just to see, hey, did you guys retain what I was saying? But you're not being graded or anything like that. And then will be a question and answer session at the end. If you were holding any questions to the end, you can ask them then. But again, I encourage you just to ask those as they would come up. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to start off our conversation today about talking about users, setting up users, different permissions, and things like that. So we're going to hop into that. We'll talk about mailing lists and communications. So things like sending emails, text messages, things like that. Then we're going to get into calendars. So we're going to talk about before I do that here, I guess, we'll be talking about calendars, but we'll also be talking about the kind of church directory portion of Church360. We'll be talking about also calendars and then also events. After that, we will also be talking about the feeds section we'll also be talking about the feeds part of Church360. So the blog post style pages, and we'll also be talking about group pages. So not necessarily in that order, we may shift things around a little bit, but this is what the topics we'll be covering today. All right, well, all that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn off my camera here, and we're going to just focus in on the screen, and let me go ahead and bring up our Church360 site. This is the same site we were working on yesterday, and we're going to kick things off by talking about users. So I'm signed in as an administrator, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up to the top of my bar here and click on users, and this is going to bring me to our users screen. And this is going to show us all the different users we have, all the different people we have in Church360. Now you'll notice up here in the top right hand corner it says listing everyone from your Church360 members account. I have this connected to a Church360 members page. If you're a Shepherd staff user though, and you've brought in your data from Shepherd staff, it will say, hey, listing everybody from your Shepherd staff then. So it just depends how you have this set up. And if you're not connected to either, it'll still say listing everyone from your Church360 members account, but you don't actually have one. But that's regardless there. But you're going to see all your people. Now, these are not people necessarily who all have a login to your system. This is just everybody in the database that you have have connected to Church360. However, this gives us the opportunity to invite people and become users for Church360. Now, if you're looking for somebody in particular where it says here, filter by name, email, or role, you can start typing in a name. So like if I click here and start typing in my last name, you can see, hey, it brings me up there. So you can easily look people that way, or by their email, or by the role that they have. And we'll talk about roles here in just a second. Now, it is sorted in alphabetical order by last name, but if you wanted to sort another way, you could also reverse sort by clicking on the column header again here. You could also sort by email, and again, you can reverse sort by clicking again, by role, by the last time they signed in, or if they're listed in the online directory. We'll talk about that in just a bit as well. But again, you're going to see a list of all these names. Now, you can only invite people who have an email address listed here in the email section. If they don't have an email, you don't really have a way to invite them into the system. Now, as far as putting an email on them, what we would go ahead and do for that is you you wouldn't be able to add it from here. You would add it in whatever database you're connected to. So if you're connected to Church360, you could add a personal email there. If you're connected to Shepherd staff, you could add it there and resync your data in and bring that in, provided that they have not already received an invitation. That's an important point I want to bring up here. Once a person's received an invitation and accepted it, it doesn't matter if you change their personal email in Shepherd staff or Church360. It's going to stay like this because what it shows here specifically is that person's login email. This is also the email address when you send out emails from Church360 that people will receive their emails on. If their email needs to be changed after they've received a login, they would need to log in, and in their profile they can change their login email from there. And I'll show us how to do that. I'll show you guys how to do that here in just a little bit. But just kind of important to note because sometimes there's a little confusion around that. So again, this doesn't change if a person already has accepted an invitation. I couldn't come in here, I'll go over to the Church360 side and change my email, and this would change here. It wouldn't. But again, you can invite anybody who has an email address listed here. So you'll see their name, email address, the role, when they last signed into the software, and if they're listed. Now, if we want to invite somebody, how this works is, let's say I want to invite Sally Baxter. I'm going to check the box next to her name, and you can invite multiple people at once. You just check the box next to multiple people's name. And then down here at the bottom, you'll see a button that says Change Role. Now, if you click Change Role, then it's going to bring up a list of options for different roles we could assign Sally. So 5 different options. Now, what she has right now is the None role, basically saying she can't log into Church360 Unite, so no access. First step up to that then would be a user. That's a standard user at Church360 Unite. That doesn't mean they can come in and make any changes to the website or anything like that, but that does mean if you have any pages designated as members only or private, and that person would be able to see those. There's all other benefits that come with that too, such as being able to manage your own profile information, being able to be part of groups, things like that. So that's what the basic user could do. The next step up from that is a publisher. Publishers have the ability to actually edit pages. They can come in and they can make changes to web pages. So it's kind of the first step up from user. Above that is it, well, technically below, but above that in terms of permissions is a designer. Designers can come in and they can make changes to content on pages, and they can edit themes. So they can kind of make those changes there in the system. They can kind of, again, have a little more control than a publisher does. Finally, at the very top level is administrators. Administrators have full access to Church360. They can go in and edit site settings, themes, they can invite users, they can do it all. And so administrators have, again, full access to the system. Now, once you pick the role that you want to provide this person, you would go ahead and select the role and click the update button. And then what will happen then is you'll see, it now lists the role next to their name, but you'll see in the last sign-in section, it says invited less than a minute. That is kind of cut off, but less than a minute ago. Basically, this means we have sent an invitation out to Sally Baxter. However, she has not accepted it yet. So we're still waiting on her response then. Now, there is a little button here with a circular arrow. If you were to click this would send a new invitation out. The invitations themselves, they do expire after a time. I believe it's after a week. If there's been no response, that invitation would expire. You can click this button to send out a new invitation to that person. One other note about different rules as well is you can have as many users, publishers, and designers as you'd like. There's no limit on those. But depending on your subscription level, you may have limits on the number of administrators you have. So for the standard plan of Church360 Unite, you get 2 administrators. So 2 people could be administrators. On the advanced plan, you would get 6 administrators, so 6 different people. And on the premium plan, there's no limit on the number of administrators you can have. Okay, so just want to mention that there. Next up here, let's take a look at the actions for selected users, these list and unlist options. So this is referring to this listed column here, and as I mentioned earlier, that determines who is able to be seen. What this determines is who's able to be seen on the online directory portion of Church360 Unite. Now, if you're using Church360 members, Anybody who's a member in Church360 members is marked as being listed or having that green check mark here by default, so they can be seen in the directory. Any non-members have that X next to their name, or they're unlisted, or they can't be seen in the directory. That's what happens by default, but you can also change that from here too. So let's say maybe the Abbott family, they said, we really don't want to be on the online directory. That's fine. We can check the boxes next to them and say unlist. And you can see here, it will unlist them. They are no longer listed in the directory. Now, if they change their mind, you can always check them off again, list, and they can do that as well. Now, individual users will be able to also do this for themselves. They can decide if they want to list the directory or not. This is just something for the administrator to be able to do if they want to quickly do that for a group of people. Okay. Next up is invite to receive text. We'll come back to this in just a minute when we talk about sending out text messages. And finally, the delete option would be to delete a record totally out of the Church360 Unite side of the database. Now, I do want to caution you about this if you're a Church360 members user, because you delete somebody over here, what it actually does in Church360 members, because these databases are connected, is it will archive that person over in Church360 members. So just be aware of that. As far as if you delete somebody from Shepherd staff, it just deletes their record off the system. They could be resynced again later if you would need to. Finally, there's an add people option here. I would only really recommend this though if you're not using Shepherd staff or you're not using Church360. If you're just kind of using this as a standalone service, you don't have it connected to either one of those items, you can click this add people option, and this will let you add person records into Church360 Unite. So you put in the person's first name, last name, and email address, and you could put people in that way. The system also has a means to be able to have you can download what's called a CSV template. It's basically a spreadsheet. You could download this, and when you open it up here, this opens up in Excel. So I'll show you that here. So it opens up in Excel, and then literally it's just a spreadsheet with 3 columns. You just need to put people's names, first name, last name, and email address, and you just do that for each row here. And once you finish that, you can save it. And then there's an import from CSV. You could grab that file that you put all the names into, import it, and that will let you bring in multiple people at once. So that can save you some time. Again, if you're on a standalone database, this add people option is a good way to go about that. Okay, so that is how we can go ahead and we can manage our people, add people into Church360 Unite. Let's go ahead next and let's move over to the mailing list option. Now, I should mention for the users tab we're in here, you can only get here if you're an administrator. If you're a publisher, designer, user, you can't get here. So this is really just for our administrators. But here at the mailing list, what this lets us do is this lets us send out mass emails, and we can kind of make our own custom groups with these mailing lists. Again, just making it easier to kind of set up groups to send out emails to. Now, we have one in the system by default. This is all users, and this is only people who have at least been invited to Church360. If they haven't been invited, they're not on this all users list. If I want to make a new list here, I'd come up to the top, and I would type in what I want to call this list. Let's just call it example. And I click create mailing list. And then if I click here, I can choose who's on the list. And again, it only lets us pick people who have at least been invited to Church360 Unite. So right now I can only pick myself and Sally Baxter here. That's my only 2 choices on that. But you could go ahead and you could pick who you want on the list. So if I can just pick myself here, for example. And then if you want to actually send out an email from these mailing lists, you would just check off each list you want to send to. I should also mention one more thing. I'll just back up one moment. Once you start adding in group pages, you can actually select entire groups to send to. So, let's say you have, for Sunday mornings, you have your ushers, your choirs, and your usher, choir, and AV team, and you want to send out a message to all of them. You could go ahead and add each of their groups into it, and that would make sure it gets to everybody in each of those groups, that message you're sending out. But I digress. If we want to go ahead and send out an email from this list, we check the box next to it and we click email. And this is going to open up whatever email service you use on your computer. I use Microsoft Outlook, so it is going ahead right now and working on pulling up Outlook, and it did so on my other screen, so let me bring that over. And you can see it brings up Microsoft Outlook, so I can start preparing my message. Now you'll notice up here in the to line it says example, and there's a big jumble of numbers and letters, and then .unite2025 at relay.360unite.com. So it has my subdomain for the site here, and this jumble of numbers and letters. How this actually works is you're not sending an email directly to all the people on the list. I don't know if you've ever tried to send out an email to, and you put like 40 names in the to line. Most times your email service is not going to let you do that. It'll just kind of reject it outright as spam. So we use what's called an email relay to kind of get around that problem. So how that would work then is when you go ahead and you send out an email using this service, it's sending to just one email address. And you would go ahead and you'd write in your subject, the body, everything you want to put in there, even attachments if needed. And then when you send that out, it's actually going to what we call our email relay server. And our email relay server can look at your Church360 Unite site and say, oh, you were trying to send it to these people. And then our email relay will actually go ahead and send it out on your behalf. It'll still look like it's coming from your email address. People can actually reply to it and get back to you. And it will go out as a blind carbon copy. So nobody else is going to see who's on the email here. So just bear that in mind if we're worried about like, oh, I don't want everybody to see who's all on the list. It goes out as a blind carbon copy. So again, they're only going to see that it's really come to them. Okay, so let me close that out. And that's going to go ahead and bring us back to the mailing list screen. Now, if you want to get rid of the mailing list, you don't need it anymore, come over here to the right. That's going to see there's a gray circle with a minus sign on it. If you click on this and click delete, that will go ahead and that will remove that mailing list if you don't actually need it. Okay, so that's the mailing list function. Next, let's go to communication. So communication is a place where we can pick individual people to send emails out to. This is also where we'll be able to send out text messages here. So so for sending out individual emails, again, you're going to see a list of all the people who are users of Church360 Unite. So not just invited, but they actually have to be at least a user of Church360 Unite to appear here. And you can check off all the people you want to send to, and it works very similar to the mailing list. Then you would just check off each person, click send email. It's going to open up, again, whatever email service you use, and it's going to send out to those people. For text messaging, though, if you want to send text messages through Church360 Unite, there's a little bit of setup involved first. So how this works is we need to go back over to our settings menu, and we want to go to texting, and we need to enable this public opt-in page. So I'm checking the box here, and I'm going to save my changes. So to briefly explain how the text messaging function of Church360 Unite works, in order to be able to send out a text message from Church360 Unite, well, in order for a person to receive a text message from Church360 Unite, they have to agree that they want to receive that text message. Just because, again, people might get charged for text messages, people get a little bit funny about unsolicited text messages. Unsolicited emails are one thing, unsolicited text messages are a horse of a different color. So we just decided, hey, let's make sure we have people's permission before we can send out. So how this would work is, again, we have that public opt-in page, and what we would do is we come back to users here, and then we would check the box next to each person who we want to invite to receive text messages. So let's say I'm going to send this to myself. So I would click invite to receive text and click send invitations. And then what's going to happen here then is, let me open up my Outlook, is I'm going to get an email. Okay, let me open that up. So I'm going to get an email here asking me if I would like to opt in to receive text messages from Church360 Unite. So let me pull that up here. Let me just double click it and pull it up on my screen. So this is what the text message is going to look like. Okay, so it's going to come from this noreply.unite2025@360unite.com. And it just says, hey, you're invited to receive the text message. Now you can customize this a bit. There's a section over in Church360 Unite where if you go to settings and then texting, you can personalize that opt-in message. And basically it lets you just add a paragraph here below this section here, just if you have any additional notes. This is the default note that you get though. But once this sends out here, once people get this message, they can click the sign me up button. And when they click this is going to take them to a page that's going to ask them for their cell phone number. So I would be able to put in my cell phone number here, which I'll just go ahead and do that off screen. Go ahead and do that. And then it's also going to ask for your name. So you put in your name. So, and this is what your congregation will get. So I'm putting in that there, and I click opt in. Now, that has opted me in to receive text messages from my church. So on my phone now, I have received a text message, and it's coming from a short code phone number. This is just like a 5-digit phone number that would basically, that again, it's not your actual church phone number, but it's what we use for text messaging. So people can expect to get the text messages from that number. And it's going to ask me, it's going to say, text yes to receive text messages from your church. Message frequency varies, text and data rates may apply. Type help for help or stop to unsubscribe. So if I were to reply yes to this message, then I then, as the recipient of the text messages, have done everything I would need to do in order to be able to opt in. Now, you as the administrator then over in the activities section over for texting opt-in here, and I got to pull this off screen just because it has my personal phone number on it here. I can go ahead then and click on this. It's going to have a spot here where it shows my name, it shows the phone number, and it's going to ask me who that should match up to. So I would click on this, and then I would select the person in Church360 Unite it matches up to. And if I click the link option, then that is going to go ahead and match up that phone number then. So it'll be matched up then at that point. Then when I'm ready to send a text message, and I'm going to go ahead and just for now unlink that because I don't want to show my personal phone number on screen. No offense to you guys, I just don't really want to do that. But then when I go to my communications module here, what it would have then is it would have that phone number that I've opted in on here next to my name. I would be able to check the box, click send text, and then this window would pop up where I would be able to go in, I'd be able to say, hey, this is the kind of text message that it is, and then you would have 160 characters to write in your text message here. So whatever you want to say. Again, we limit it to 160 characters because these should be short messages. They should not be a lengthy thing. If it is more lengthy and involved, it's probably better to do it as an email. But again, this is for things like, hey, church service has been canceled. Well, we just want to get a quick text out to everybody. This would be a way to do it. So you would write in your text message here, and then there's no send button because, again, technically right now I don't have an opted-in phone number since I don't have that number connected to my name. But if I did, there would be a send option here, and that would let me send out that text message to my congregation. So that's how we could do the text messaging option here in Church360 Unite. Okay. So that is our communications section here, and that's going to wrap up our users part of today. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at our online directory part of Church360 Unite. So to get to that, under pages here, we're looking for the page labeled members. Okay, so the page called members here, this is our online directory. So when I click on this where it says members, this is going to go ahead and bring up the online directory portion of Church360 Unite. Now, a benefit to this, if you have Shepherd staff, if you have Church360 members, it actually can group people together into households when you're connected one of those. If you're using this as a standalone, it doesn't really have a way to group people into households. It would just be an individual directory at that point. But what you're going to see here is you're going to see a list of your families. It's going to show you the family's name, each person who lives in that household, their address, the household phone number, and then any household email addresses. Now, if you want to get more information about that family, we would click on the family name here, and that's going to take us into the family, and that's going to show us the individual members of the family, as well as any individual phone numbers and any individual email addresses. Now, You as an administrator, or if a person logs in and they're a member of that family, they could come in here and click this edit household option, and they could update their own household information. So they would go through here and update the household name, the address, phone numbers, email addresses, reorder the order of the family here, so they can kind of click and drag to reorder these. They can change anything they want. They can even make phone numbers and email addresses listed or unlisted, or even their address listed or unlisted. And that would update the household information. The nice part about this is, again, if you're using Church360 members or you're using Shepherd staff, that information flows back over to Church360 automatically. Or when you sync your data next from Shepherd staff, it'll tell you there's updates and you can review those in Shepherd staff. Say, hey, we want to apply those to our Shepherd staff database then. So this can be nice because it can help your church office out by giving people the option to update their own information as needed. Now, that's the household information. People can also update their own personal information too. Now, they can either go to their household entry and then click on their individual name to do that, or if you click this little person icon up here, again, it can vary depending on your theme. You can see where it says Welcome Jordan here. So I'd click on that, and that is going to go ahead and after a moment open up my individual profile here in Church360 Unite, like so. And if I click Edit My Profile, then this is going to let me go through and this is going to let me update my own personal profile here. So I could update anything about my name here, email addresses, phone numbers, and individual people can actually go through here and check or uncheck this box to say, hey, do I want to even be seen in the membership directory or not? So people can decide that for themselves if they want to be seen or not. So they would go through and they would do that. So again, you can update your own personal information. If you're an administrator, you can go through and update anybody's information. But for your individual users, they can update their own information. Now, another thing I want to mention as far as profiles go, I mentioned earlier that on the user's screen, just changing like their email address here or in 360 members or in Shepherd staff wouldn't actually change what's on that user screen if that person's already been invited or has a profile in Church360 Unite. However, if they do want to change that email address that's on the user screen, what they can do is they can log in, go to settings, and here at the settings window, this email address is the login email address. So if I wanted to use a different email address to log in, I could go ahead and I could change that here. I also have a spot if I want to log in using a username instead of an email address, I can do that here. Here's a spot where you can change your password. So you would put in whatever your current password is, and then you put in your new password that you want to use, put that new password in again, and click Update Credentials. That would let you change your password you use to log in. There's also a spot here where you as an individual user can subscribe or unsubscribe from different kinds of notifications from the software. So direct emails, that's if like somebody at your church would email you directly through like the mailing list, the communications module, or from a group. You can turn that on or off. You want to get those emails or not. And then there's also notification emails, and that's like automatic emails the system sends about like reminders about events or updates within groups or discussions or things like that. So you can update your preferences there. So those are a couple options that we offer for individual users then. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and that's going to sum up our users section then. Next, I want to briefly talk about feed pages. I had mentioned those earlier during our yesterday's session, and I talked about these being blog post style pages where people can create posts and add content to them, and the latest content will always show up on top, and it'll kind of push the older content down the page. Let's go ahead and take a look at that here. So if I go to pages, and I'm going to add a new page here, I'm going to add let me see, we're going to add a feed page. And let's go ahead and let's add in pastor's blog. Let's say pastor has a blog on the website that he wants people to be able to read. So I'm going to make pastor's blog, and that's created that now. And this is now a feed page. So I'm going to go ahead and save my changes and click on that. And this is going to take me to pastor's blog. Now, when the feed first starts off, you don't see a whole lot of information here. What we can do though is we click edit page. This is going to let me start editing this page. And we have some of the same settings we saw yesterday on a blank page. You have the URLs, if you want to change the website address, the feed title, or this is based with the page title, the feed title, or the meta description, which again we talked about yesterday. But there's some additional options here also. You see there's an option here that says how this feed looks, 7 posts per page. So what this is saying is we could have 7 posts on the first page of this blog or this feed here, and then once we get to that 8th post, it would take whatever the oldest post is and push it onto a page 2 of this feed. And so you can kind of determine how many posts it can show before it pushes to another page. Now the consideration here is basically, well, we can show more per page, but that means the page takes longer to pull up. Or if you show less on a page, the page would be faster to load, but people have to flip through more pages to get to past content. We put 7 here as kind of the middle ground, kind of the happy medium on this, but you can adjust this depending on kind of how people feel here. Then there's also an option here that says show post content. It probably helps when I talk about actually making a post first. Let me do that. So as far as a post goes, basically this is just, hey, here's a post of content on this page. So we'll just say pastor's first post, and that'll be the title of that post. And then you can click here and you have all the same options that you do on a blank page. So you could start writing things in. So this is Pastor Smith's first post in his new blog. I could put that up there. Now you'll notice down at the bottom there's a spot that says draft, and you can click on it and there's 3 options: draft, scheduled, and published. Now when a post is in draft status, that means we're working on it, but it's not ready for the public to see yet. So only, again, people who can edit content would be able to see that draft post. Scheduled is saying, well, we're going to keep this post in drafts until the time we pick where it will switch over to being a public post. So you can click on this here and you can pick the exact day and time you want this scheduled post to go out at. So you can decide, hey, I want to, maybe pastor's going on vacation, but he still wants a weekly blog post to go out. So maybe he would write it in advance and he'd say, okay, I want this to go out, Wednesday at noon then. And he'll just schedule that. Then as soon as Wednesday at noon hits, that new blog post would be available for everybody to read then at that point. And then publish is just, hey, we're going to publish this right away. It's ready to go. So if I click create, that has created that post. Now back to over here for just a second. Show post content. So this is an option here. If I uncheck this, you can see how it shows the content of the post here right now with show post content on. But if I turn this off and save my draft, instead of showing the content of that post, I'd have to actually click on this post to see what's inside. Okay, so you have your options on kind of how you want to show that here. Now, there's 2 other options here: allow comments and moderate comments. You'll notice down here at the bottom of the post, it shows there's 0 comments on this post. So people can comment on these blog posts. Now, if that person is signed in, the post made to their name, but a person who is also not signed in can also post, and it's going to ask them for their name and everything like that. Now, if I go back for just a moment, the 2 options here are allow comments and moderate comments. If you don't want comments to be on a post, you can just uncheck this allow comments option, and that'll make it so people can't comment on posts. But if you use the allow comments option, you may also want to use this moderate comments option, because what this does for us is when we make a post here, let's say somebody's kind of rude and they say, oh, this post stinks. Okay, and I click post. Well, what it'll say when they post is your comment has been submitted. You'll notice it didn't show up right away. So what happens with this then is in the activity section up here at the top of Church360 Unite, if we go to comments, this is going to show all the comments that are waiting on approval from an administrator before they would show up. So what that's going to then show you is, well, here's who made that comment, here's where that comment was made, here's when it was posted, and here's the text of that comment. Do we want to approve that post or deny that post? Well, if I check the box here, I can say approve if I want that to show up, or delete. And if I click delete, that comment would be deleted. It would just never show up then. So it just kind of helps you moderate, maybe people who are little more overzealous than possibly with their posting. So that might be a good way to handle that. I also do want to show here the post section. This is going to show a listing of all your posts across all your feeds here in Church360 Unite, and it'll allow you to manage them. So I have a couple posts here in the system, and you can see them here. It's going to show you the name of the post, the feed that post is in, what the current status is it published, is it scheduled, is it in drafts, you can pick that there, who wrote the post, and when it was published at. So if I want to make some changes here, like I want to put this back in draft status, I could check the box next to it and say make draft, and that would switch it back to draft, or if it's ready to be published, I could say published. If this accidentally got posted in the wrong feed, maybe this actually belonged in sermons, I click change feed here and I could switch it to another feed. Or I could also just delete a post here. If I need to delete a post, I'd check the box next to it, I would click delete, and then that post is gone. So that's the feed page. Again, where I see a lot of churches use this is for sermons. Like when they would post a sermon each week, they could come in here. If they have a video of the sermon, they could go ahead and do what we did yesterday and insert that YouTube video player right there on the page, so people could just go in and see, hey, here's the YouTube video of the sermon, and you could just have that. You could just have the latest one on top each week. So this is a great tool for something like that. Okay, so that's going to cover feeds. Let's go ahead next and let's get into groups. So groups are basically mini websites unto themselves for different groups of people that you might have in your church. You might do one for your choir, for your youth group, for your ushers, all sorts of different people, your board, all sorts of different people, because this is a place where they can kind of have a central spot online to kind of keep everything centralized and managed. So if you want to add a new group, again, we're going to press the add button up here at the top. We're going to choose group and click create page. Let's create a page for our choir. Okay, so that adds in a choir page. That's the icon for the group there. And again, these are all in our available menu items. I could drag them over in our active menu items if I want them to appear there. But let's go ahead and save our changes, and let's go into this group here. So this is going to bring us to our group page. Now here at our group page, this is where we would be able to go in and we would be able to set up this group and kind of add in content to it. Now, when we go to edit this page, it works just like a blank page does. There's a spot for cells here, and you can have additional rows, add in comments, and this is the home page for this group essentially. But you'll notice over here on the right, there's this sidebar with additional options, and I want to get into this here. So let's start off with this option here, edit this group. This is kind of our main settings page for the group. So here at the settings page of the group, we can put in the title of the group. This is just what the name of the group is called. You can change what the group is called here. We have the description of the group. This just tells us, hey, what's going on with this group? So we'll just say this is the choir page for Christ Community Church. Okay, we can put that in there. And then next we have a pages section. This is if we want to add additional pages to this sidebar, because maybe there's other sections we need to add in for this group. So for our choir group, maybe a good example is like you have a page where you've uploaded sheet music that people might download to practice at home. So I can put a page up here called music, click the add page option, and you can see that shows up here now in a list of pages. And it says, check up to 3 pages that you'd like to have in your group tabs. You have 3 pages remaining. You can add 3 additional pages over here on the right. So if I check the box next to music here, and it is in draft status at this moment, I can check that, and you can see music is now added to the sidebar of options. Now, let me just update my group to save that. So now if I go over to my music page, well, this is just a standard page. Then I could edit and start adding content to that that people would be able to utilize within this group. Let's go back to edit this group for now. So once we're here, next thing I want to look at is the group details are visible to. So this helps control who gets to see what parts of the group here. So you'll see it shows each page, and then there's different levels here that we see. So there is everyone public. What that level means is just you don't have to be signed into the website to see it. You can see this page even if you're not signed in. Only Unite users, that's saying that You don't have to be part of the group, but you do have to be signed into the website in order to see the page. Only group members means you have to be a member of the group to be able to see the page. Only group leaders means you have to be designated as group leader, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. And then no one hidden is basically, it's only available for discussion events. It's basically just saying, hey, we're not going to use this part of groups here. We're not going to be using the discussion page. We're not going to be using the events page. So we're just going to turn those off. We're going to hide those. Okay. So that's how we can turn those off if we want. So what we want to consider here then is kind of who should be able to see each part of the group. So I'm going to say, hey, at the baseline, you got to be signed into the site to see this. But I'm probably okay if the people can see the homepage of the choir. That's probably fine. The discussion page, though, well, I really only want choir members seeing that. I don't need everybody seeing that. So the discussion page, we're going to leave that for just our choir members. Now, the events page, I want to make special mention of because the events page is the page where basically this group would have a calendar and they can put events onto it. If it is set to everyone public or only Unite users, that means the events from this calendar can also appear on your main site calendar then at that point. But it has to be one of these two statuses. If it's not set to everyone public or only Unite users, those events would not show up on your main site calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this set to only Unite users. You have to be signed in to see it. Let's say the music page, well, again, that should be only for our group members. And then the members of the group, well, we probably don't care if the people who are signed into the site can see who's part of the group. So I'm going to leave that set to only Unite users as well. Now, finally, the last part of our group settings here we have is who can join the group. Now, two ways you could do this. You could just say, hey, anyone who comes to the site, if they come to the choir group and they want to be part of the choir group, they can just click a button and they're in on the group. But probably more frequently, what we're actually looking at doing here is probably saying, well, it's only people that I have invited. And that means your group leader would be able to invite specific people to the group so they can join it. Now, if you have it set this way, there will be a button on the homepage of the group where people can request membership to the group. Your group leaders would then be able to decide if those people would be in or out then. That's how that would work then. Once I'm done, I'm going to click Update Group. That's going to save my changes. Delete Group does exactly what it sounds like. It deletes the entire group, so you want to be careful there. But I'm going to go ahead and just update our group. And that goes ahead, and that creates the group. Next, I want to look at the Members section of the group. So I'm going to click on Members here. And this is going to show me my members page and show me everybody who's part of the group. Now, unfortunately, it's a pretty poor choir because I am the only member of it right now. So I'm definitely not a singer. But with that in mind, whoever initially creates the group is going to be in the group as a group leader when it's first created. But it doesn't have to stay that way, of course. That once you add new people to the group, you could remove yourself from the group then at that point. But let's see what it is to get other people into the group. So down here in the add member section here, it's going to show all members, and then there's going to be a drop list. And this drop list it'll show anybody who has at least been invited to Church360 Unite. They don't necessarily have to have completed their invitation yet, but they need to at least have been invited to Church360 Unite. So let's go ahead and pick Sally here. And there's two options. There's add member and invite member. Add member just adds them to the group. They are just a part of the group then at that point. They don't have to approve it. They're just in. Invite member instead is going to send this person an email and say, hey, would you like to be a member of this group? And if you do, you can approve that. If you don't, you can deny it. Simple as that. So let's go ahead and just add Sally for now. Now with requests here, this is what I was talking about earlier, where if you have it set to invite only, people can come to the page and they can request to be a member of the group. Your group leaders will be able to review this section and approve or deny those invitations then. Next over here, you're going to see the members of the group. So you can see I'm in the group, Sally Baxter's in the group. I'm designated as a group leader. You can think of group leaders almost like administrators, but just within this group. They'd have the ability to edit the group, add content to the pages in the group. They kind of have more control over the group page and what can be done on it. You can have as many group leaders as you like. So if I check the box next to Sally here, there's a button that says change role. You can say promote to leader, or if somebody shouldn't be a group leader anymore, change role, demote to member. There's also the ability for group leaders to come in here to this members page and send emails to the group. So there is an email all button, and it'll email everybody in the group. Or if you just want to email specific people, you can check the box here and say email selected, and that will just send an email to those that you have checked the box next to. If you'd like to remove somebody from the group, come over here to the right. Again, kind of hard to see, but there's a gray minus sign. It turns red when we move our mouse over it. Just click on that, click delete, and that would remove that person from the group then. So that's how you can add and remove people from a group. Okay, so that is our members section. Next here, I'd like to talk about the discussion section. So the discussion section is just a discussion forum for the group. So here, any of your group members can come in here and make posts for discussion for the group. So again, I'm signed in here right now, so I'm making the comment. So I'd be able to go in here and write, let's say, choir practice has been canceled this evening, 7:16. Okay. And then before you make the post, you can mark it as one of three things. As a discussion post, any member of your group can do this. As a prayer request, any member of your group can do this. Or as an announcement, only group leaders can make announcements. Okay. So if I click the post option here, this will, after a moment of loading, will bring in this post here, and it will be a post then that people can see here, right? We have this post, and people can, and whoever made the post can come in and edit their own post. They can delete the post, or anyone can reply to the post. And if they click reply, a spot will appear down here, and that person would be able to go ahead and post their response to that post. Okay. Also then, once any posts have been made, the latest 3 posts here will show up in this under the discussion here. So that's how that discussion page works. Now, last up is events, and I'm not going to dive too deep on this because one of the next things we're going to be talking about is calendars and events, and talking about making events. And really, it works the same here as it does in the main site calendar. But this calendar is just for the choir. So you'd only be adding choir events to this group. So you would basically click on the spot on the calendar you want to add an event to, and you'd be able to start adding an event. But I'm going to get into the details about that in just a little bit. The last piece I want to show on groups here, well, I have one other thing after this on groups, but last button I want to discuss here is membership settings. This is available to each member of the group for them to determine for themselves. Basically, it determines how people are notified about the group. So notification, 3 options. Number 1, send me an email when a member of my group makes a comment. So anytime anybody makes a comment in the discussion part, this person's going to get an email about it. I'm going to get an email about it. Next up, send me an email only when a leader makes an announcement. So I don't want to see every single discussion post, but when a leader makes an announcement, I want to know about it. So that'd be what this next option is. Then finally, don't send me any email notifications to the group. It doesn't matter who makes what kind of post. I don't want to be informed about it. So you can turn that on, and that's going to make it for this user that they don't get notifications. When you're done, you click Update Group Membership, and that will go ahead and make those changes. There's also a button here to leave the group. A person can choose to leave their group on their own here. They click this. This will remove them from the members of the group. Okay. So that's most of what I have to say about groups. I do want to show one thing that's not on a group page though. So let me go back to a blank page, and I want to discuss an item I kind of glossed over last time because I really wanted to talk more about groups first before I talked about it here. So talking about how you can kind of make links to a group. Now, group pages are just pages. You could add them to your navigation directly if you wanted to. You could put them under a category. It would be your choice. But another way you can link to your group is using the group link option, which kind of is a special link just for groups you could place on a page. So to do that, I'm going to click Edit Page, and I'm going to edit this cell, and I'm going to click on this Group Link button here. Now, when I click on Group Link, it's going to ask me 2 things. What group do I want to link to? And what size do I want the link to be? So I want to link to the choir, and let's start off with the small link. So the small link is gonna, we click this, we click add, and it's gonna just have a link here that just says choir. People click to it and get to the choir group. Let's go ahead and bump this up to medium. Now it does get a little bit larger, but also it will now show the group description that we had entered earlier. So this tells people, hey, this is a little bit what the group is all about. Finally, if we move it up to large links, it'll include the description, the link will get larger, and it'll show who the group leaders are. So where I see churches use this, a lot of times churches will have like different Bible study groups. And so let's say, okay, well, this is the Wood Street Bible Study Group. It's led by Joe and Kathy Smith. And you have that description there, and maybe the description like we meet on Tuesday nights at 7 at Joe and Kathy Smith's house. And then you'd have, hey, Joe and Kathy Smith are the leaders then of that group. So that might be a way you could use this. So what I see a lot of churches do is they'll make like a page called Bible study groups, and then they'll have group links to each of their Bible study groups on a page. Again, just kind of making it easy for people who visit your site to see, okay, what Bible studies does your church offer? Okay, well, here's what we have. So this is a great way to display that. You don't have to do it that way, but again, something that can be very helpful to have. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about here today are calendars. So we're going to be getting into events and calendars here. And calendars are essentially groupings of events that kind of share a common purpose. Now, I do want to mention if you use Church360 members, the calendars that you have in Church360 members are the same calendars you have in Church360 Unite. So these calendars are linked. If you make an event in Church360 members, you'll see that same event over in Church360 Unite. So when we come to our calendars page, we see different calendars we have, and some of them have lock icons next to them, some of them don't, some of them have this group icon here. Let's just explain that. So these ones that have a lock next to them, these are required by the system. These are default in the system. We have these. You can't get rid of them though. But they are in the system. Now they're not being displayed right now, and we'll get into that in just a second. Like if we go to the events page, we're not seeing any of those calendars, but we have the option to turn those on or off. The ones that don't have calendars, the lock icon next to these are calendars that I have made just up here in this create a calendar. I can create my own custom calendars here if I want. And the calendar that has this little group icon next to it, this is that choir calendar from earlier. You might notice it says disabled over on the right, visible to disabled. This is basically saying I can't change the visibility of this calendar from here. The person who, in the group settings, the person have to go in and change how that's being viewed, but that can be seen by everyone, that can be seen by just Unite users. I can't change that from here. But let's take a look at some of these calendars. So like the worship calendar, for example, I would probably put like the different worship events, like my Sunday morning worship on this. Well, if I want people to be able to see that when I go to my events page, what I would do is I would click on this, and it's going to say, well, who can view this? Well, nobody can view it. Only users of Church360 Unite can view it, or everyone can view it. Doesn't matter if you're signed in or not. Well, probably for our worship calendar, right? I want everybody to be able to see this, whether you're a member of our church or not here already. So I'm going to save that, and that's going to change that to be visible to everyone. Everyone can see it. Now, you might have also noticed there's these green dots next to the calendars here. With these green dots, this is the color these events will show up as on your main events calendar. Everything's set to green right now. I probably want to kind of differentiate these just a little bit and color code them. So maybe I want my worship events to be blue. And let's say let's go ahead and say everyone can see the education events, and I want those to be purple. And then fellowship events, we'll say everyone, and maybe I want those to be red. Okay, so those I can kind of color code my events that way. This is how I could go ahead and I can make my events. If I want to get rid of a calendar, again, as long as it doesn't have the lock icon and the group icon next to it, I can put minus sign here and then delete, and that will get rid of that calendar. But that's how we can set up our calendars here in the system. We have to set up our calendars here first before we can start adding events to our calendars. Speaking of, let's go ahead and start adding events to our calendars. So I'm going to find my calendar page. I have it under news here right now, and I can click on calendar. And this is going to bring me to my calendar page. Now you can see I already have some events here because I have events over in my Church360 member site. So I have you can see the events and calendars are shared here in the system. So because I have those filled out in Church 360 members, they're already here in Church 360 Unite. So when somebody comes to the calendar page, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see everything that's going on for the current month. But if they want to look back at previous months, they can look this arrow back, and that's going to take them back into the previous month. And they can go back as far as they like. They can also go forward as far as they like. So I click this arrow to the right. That can take me into upcoming months. And if I click this today button in the middle, that will bring me back to today's date. Now we offer a monthly view. We also offer a weekly view. So people want to just see everything that's going on in a particular week. If they switch to the weekly view, they'll just get a list of events and times for those events. And again, you can go forward into upcoming weeks, back into prior weeks, whatever you would need to do. Okay. Now, when somebody comes to this view, if they click on this calendars option here, they can turn on and off the calendars that they actually want to see. So if I'm not interested in seeing all the education events, I can uncheck that box, and now I'm only seeing the events that are on the choir, fellowship, and worship calendar, though I only really have worship calendar events. But you would be able to see that. So that's how we can set up those. That's how we can kind of people when they come to your site, how they can view your calendars. Now, if I want to make a new event, I want to make a new event and add to the calendar. I have two ways of doing that. I can either click this new event button up here at the top, or personally, what I like to do is I like to actually click on the day of the event that I want to add it to. That'll save me a step later. So I'm going to go back to the previous month, and let's say I want to set up a men's Bible study on Wednesday night. Well, I already have a men's Bible study. Let's say we'll add a youth group event for Wednesday nights. Okay, so I'm going to come here to Wednesday, and then I'm going to click on June 4th here, because that's where I want to add my first event here. And the benefit to doing that is when you do it that way, you can see it retains whatever day I clicked on. So it's starting on June 4th. If I click new event, it assumes the event I'm creating is for today's date. You can go back and change it. This just saves you a little bit of time, though. So, okay, I want to add a youth group event. So let's just call this event youth group. Okay, and then you can choose what calendar this event belongs to. Every event has to belong to at least one calendar. So an event can belong to multiple calendars, and all that means is just this event will show up when you have either one of those calendars selected. So for the youth group, yeah, this kind of straddles the line. Yeah, it is a worship event, but it's also fellowship. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on both the fellowship and worship calendars. Next, I can put in a location of where this event is going to take place. This is optional. You don't have to put in a location, but let's just go ahead and let's say this takes place in the youth area of the church. When this event starts, again, we already have that set, but we can also set the time for this here too. So let's say the youth group event's going to start at 6 o'clock. And you can it'll update the end time to be an hour later. Now, if you want that to go longer, of course, you can change that, but it just defaults to be an hour after the end. And there's two check boxes here. This is an all-day event. This is just saying this is something that doesn't have a set start and ending time during the day. It's just something that's going on all day. Where this can be useful is if it's an event that's just commemorating the anniversary of something, like maybe the church wants to mark down, hey, we have our 150th anniversary on this day, and I want to put that in as an all-day event just so it's on the calendar. You could do that. But let's go ahead here and say, well, we want this event to repeat. So I'm going to say this event repeats. And we can set this event up then on a repeating schedule. So let's say with the youth group during the summer, we're going to meet every other week on Wednesdays. So what I could do here is I could say, well, this event repeats every other week, but I can also do a monthly repeating event. I could also do an annually repeating event. But in this case, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do just a week. And we're going to say this event repeats every other Wednesday. And that's going to start on June 4th. Now, if I just want that to go indefinitely, I can just leave this schedule ends after box alone. I don't need to do anything with this. But if I can say schedule ends after, maybe this is just what we're doing during the summer. So we're going to run that. It's starting on June 4th. Let's say the last time we're going to do that in the summer here, let's see. Starting June 4th, so 18th. The next time it would happen would be the 2nd. After the 2nd, then would be the 16th. After the 16th, would be the 30th. After the 30th, would be the 13th. Let's say the 13th is the last time we're going to do that. August 13th is the last one we're going to run. You want to make sure you end it on a day that it could actually end So we put that in here, and then you can put in a description of the event. This is just an overall summary of this event. If it is a repeating event, just bear in mind this description is going to go into each instance of that event. So just keep that in mind. It's not unique to each event if it's a repeating event. And then finally here where it says invitations, if you wanted to, you can send out invites to anybody in your user section. They don't even have to be invited to Church360 Unite yet. As long as they have an email address, they'll appear here on this list and you can check the box. And so that way when the event is created, they'll get an invite asking them if they would like to attend this event. And with that in mind, if you're using those events, you can actually set up reminders where people will get emails a certain time, a certain amount of time before the event. We have offer different options here. You can pick like an hour before, day before, 3 days before, whenever you might want to remind them about this. But you just check the box next to everybody you like to invite, and then you click, after you set up your invitations and your reminder, you click create event. And this is going to take you to the event page. Now here at the event page, you're going to see the name of the event, when it takes place, where it's going to be at. And then people, when they come to your calendar, they can click on this event and they can say, hey, I'm going to go to this event. And so they click I'm going, and that's going to add them to the list of participants. There's also a button here that says add to my calendar. So if somebody's visiting this site on their phone or something like that, they can tap this button. And this would add it into like their Google or their Apple calendar then, so it adds it to their own personal calendar. And there's a discussion button here where there's like a little discussion forum on this event. So, hey, the youth pastor wants to communicate something additional about this, they can type in a message here for the youth who might be attending that event. And yeah, that's what the event page would look like. Now, when I go back to my calendar page, you can see now on Wednesday nights, every other week, I have that youth group event. If I need to go back into this event to make any changes, I would just click on the event. That's going to take me to the event page for that particular event. So this is the one for the 18th. I can click edit this event, and then I can make any changes I need to make. So if I need to adjust the time, the place, anything about it. Then down here at the bottom, there's 3 options. Since this is a repeating event, do I want to update just this one single event that I'm on? Do I want to update all the events in the schedule, so the ones that came before this event, the ones that came after this event, and it updates the entire thing? Or update all future events. So we're saying, hey, going forward from this point, we're making this change. And that's what the update all future events would be. There, after you're done, you would click update event. If you want to get rid of this event, if you click delete event, it'll ask you, do you want to delete just this one instance of the event, or do you want to delete the entire repeating schedule of events here? And then finally, the last option we see here is to copy the event. Basically, an event that's very similar to another one. It can save you time just to copy the event, and then it'll let you edit the copy then. So that can save you some time when preparing events. So this is a helpful tool for you guys just for event planning then. So that is our events and calendars, and that's going to wrap up what I have here to present today. So next I'd like to go ahead and get back over to our quiz. And so here in our quiz, basically how this is going to work here, you're going to see a window pop up here on screen, and you'll be able to go in and give your response to the question I'm going to have up on screen. So starting off here, we have a true or false question. True or false, when creating an event, you can only invite users who have set up their logins for Church360 to that event. So I'm going to put that question up here for us. And just go ahead and reply what you feel is correct here. When creating an event, you can only invite users who have set up their logins for Church360 to that event. So just discussed who we get to invite to events. What do we think that is here? So I'll give everybody just another few seconds here to get your answer in on that one. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the question now. So it looks to me like we had a unanimous answer. Everybody said that was false. So yeah, that's false. Any person who has an email address listed on your user screen can be invited to an event that you create. This will let you reach out to people who may not have set up their login to Church360 Unite yet. So we want to make our reach as broad as possible on this. So That's why we have it that way. All right, next up, true or false? Changing an email in Church360 Unite, Church360 members or Shepherd staff will always change it on the user screen in 360 Unite. So is that true or false? So let me pull that up here. Change an email in Church360 members or Shepherd staff will always change it on the user screen of Church360 Unite. Is that true or false? Give everybody some time to give your response. Okay. Give everybody about another 10 seconds here. All right. Well, again, we were unanimous on this one. Everybody said false, so that is correct. False. Yes, that is one thing you want to watch out for. Once a user has established their login, the only thing that can change the email on the user screen is that user logging in and updating their login email on their personal profile. So just bear that in mind. If somebody wants to change their email, if they're getting rid of an old email, you might want to remind them, hey, before you do that, you might want to go in here and update your login here in case you ever need to reset your password. That might get a little messy then at that point. We can help them with that, but again, it's easier if they make sure they're keeping their email up to date for sure. Okay, next question here. A user can list or unlist themselves from the online directory without an administrator making any changes. So thinking back to the directory here, is a user able to go in and list or unlist themselves without having to have an administrator help them out? Is that true or false? Okay. All right. Well, actually, it looks like everybody who's still here has submitted their votes, so I'm going to end this now. And yeah, everybody said true, and you're right. That's true. If a user has a login to Church360 Unite, they can go into their own profile and list or unlist themselves from the member directory. Okay. All right, moving along. Next up, let's talk about communications just a little bit. So when sending out mass emails from Church360 Unite, the person who receives the email will only see that it came to them. So thinking about sending out those mass messages, are they going to be able to see everybody else it's sent to, or are they only going to see is it sent to just them? Okay, so give everybody some time to answer that question. All right, everybody who's still here has answered. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. And yeah, you guys were unanimous again. You guys are on top of it, and you're absolutely correct. That is true. Sorry, not true. Yes, it is true. Sorry about that. It is true. Mass emails sent from Church360 Unite use a blind carbon copy, which means only the recipients of that email will only see the message came to them and not any other email addresses. That's just for confidentiality purposes. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about groups here. So thinking about groups, let me go ahead and get this up here. Each page's visibility within a group can be adjusted so either everyone, users, group members, or group leaders can see the page. So thinking about who gets to see certain pages in a group, what options do we have? Is that correct? The list of options we have there correct? Oops. Okay. Looks like we've heard from just about everybody, and we've heard from everybody now. I'm going to close it out. Again, you guys are moving in lockstep here today, so you are correct. That is true. Every page within a group can have its visibility adjusted to control who gets to see that page. So you can make it visible to anyone who would visit your site, all the way up to even being able to make it so no one can see particular pages. So again, great little, you have kind of a lot of control over who gets to see what parts of the group. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the quiz. Good job, guys. You guys got every single one of them right. Excellent. Let's go ahead and continue on here. So just kind of start wrapping things up here. Do you have any questions? Are you kind of holding on to any questions till the end of the session here today? If you were, now's a great time to ask them. But if you don't, hey, that's fine too. This is going to be the end of the session today. And so if you're writing your question down now, go ahead. I do want to thank everybody for attending today's Church 360 Unite webinar. We hope you enjoyed this session, learned a lot. If you do have additional questions here at the end, that is, if you have any additional questions here after the session, you think something, oh, geez, I forgot, you can always call our support line at 1-800-346-6120, or you can email us at support@cts.cph.org. I have a question about what was the markdown feature. Now that is a specific way, and again, it's kind of a techie type thing. Probably most people won't be using it, but markdown, we have a little. Let me go back to a group here, and if I go to my choir group and I go to discussion, so you can use markdown. So there's a little post here. This is a sort of a HTML almost basically interface where if you really want to like style your messages a certain way, if somebody has the know-how to do that, they can basically, it's just saying, hey, if you know how to do code, make like your text look a certain way when you're writing it, you can use that. For most people, it's just something that they probably won't use. They're probably just fine having plain text. But again, if you have somebody who has that technical know-how who wants to style their post and discussion forum a certain way, you can do that. Okay. Any other questions that anyone has? If there are no other questions, again, I want to thank everybody for attending today. And yeah, if you do have any other questions after the session, just give us a call. Again, that's 1-800-346-6120, or send us an email, support@cts.cph.org. We'll be happy to answer your questions there. Thanks for attending today, everybody. I hope you guys all have a good day, and take care. Bye-bye.